20 years ago, 15 years ago, a seed would get you prison time. Lifetime prison. John Sinclair, over two joints. John Sinclair from Amsterdam Guitar. I don't know if you know about him. John Sinclair, got the White Panther Party. Free Amsterdam Radio. He wrote a book called The Guitar Army. He was in Detroit. They sent an undercover agent into his group. After a week, she asked him for 2 joints. Give him 2 joints. They arrested him. They were going to give him life for 2 joints. John Lennon found out about this, came down to Ann Arbor and did a big fundraiser. Him and Oko, and did a big fundraiser in music, and that's how the Hash Bash started. And then started actually is because of that. But John Lennon came down, and of course they let him out of prison and let him out, but they were going to give him life for 2 joints. But that's how the Hash Bash and then the Hash Bash Cup and all that stuff was created because of John Sinclair and John Lennon coming there and saying, whoa, this ain't right. Life for 2 joints,
Yeah. No, but I agree. We have to be grateful and celebrate.
Now it's a different kind of prison they're trying to put us in. They're trying to put us into a prison of choice. Of choice of which way we consume it and which product and what company and which who we buy it from.
As you said, it's the illusion of choice. It's a simulacra of freedom. And I think if we could go back and speak to your Eddie Leps and your Jack Herrers and your many incountable number of people in various regions and countries around the world that have held this candle for cannabis during Prohibition, I think most of them would, they'd be happy that some progress has been made, but I think almost unanimously they would all go, I didn't suffer for the enemy to be in charge. Because that's ultimately what's happened. It's the prohibitionists. It's the people who wrote the laws and their kids, their class, their groups of working professionals that have promulgated and promoted this the most. And I'm not then saying, pitchforks and torches and let's go burn the houses down. I'm just saying there has to be a sincere, genuine acknowledgement of this. I keep going to push towards this concept that they used in South Africa at the end of apartheid, of a truth and reconciliation committee, and a series of meetings where people come together and can honestly talk about what the fuck has actually happened and actually start to heal and recognize it, instead of some people coming forward and getting to paint the narrative and everyone going, oh, sure, that's what we'll say happened. It's not about that. There are too many voices, too many stories that are important that, if not told, will be lost. I think of just what I've seen in the UK scene in the past 20 years and how many people have died, frankly, being killed by the state. They're victims of prohibition. They were soldiers of fucking poor fortune. They were put in a conflict they didn't sign up to. They were born into a war against them, because there can't be a war against drugs, because drugs don't hold guilt. No drug is illegal. It's just illegal or unlawful for you to possess it, to trade it, to make money from it without license or exception or authorization from the state. That's it. And we need to get that, to me, is the thing we want to put on the pedestal. Until that is fixed, all of this other stuff is built on somebody else's suffering. The millions you're making and you going, yeah, boys, it's a great year for us in this region. Yeah, you're making that money off the backs of others that are suffering. And I
think about what would Dennis Perone, the founder of Prop 2, like you talked about 215, going to say, what would Dennis Perone, what would he think today if he sit there and saw how he'd be happy, but yet he'd be like, oh my God, this wasn't what I attended. I think he'd be a little,
Yeah, Dennis is an interesting one, because I can't remember which. There's a famous article that I was reading with the quote in it, and it's because it hit me really weird when I did some research on him, and it was for a comparison about sort of the struggle of queer culture and Stonewall, and sort of the intersectionality of that, because obviously he helped a lot out with AIDS patients. Yeah, because Prop 215 came from, was that compassionate care, California Compassionate Care Act or whatever it was prior, and it all kind of merged and developed into that, and there was that intersection. And in sort of later life, I might be confusing him with somebody else, so I do apologize if I am to take this with a grain of salt, but I do feel that I remember reading that his attitude was basically all cannabis is medical, that there is no such thing as recreational use. And I think I agree with that in spirit,
You were talking about
but in language, we give them the tools. If it's medicine, you're not allowed to grow aspirin at home. You're not allowed to make heroin-derived products at home. Only they can make those products. So it plays into them. And I think that's kind of where, again, like Jack's language of legalize it is old legalization. I call this phase we're in now neo-legalization, because it isn't what our ancestors fought for, what your generation had in mind. When you said legalize it, our generation's language for that is deschedule and decriminalize. We mean the end of you criminalizing our lives. We don't care what the corporation structure looks like. That's not our concern. We want you to never be able to stop us because we smell. We want you to never be able to say that you're not allowed to go here because of our fucking beliefs. Do you know what I mean? We deserve the same protection as religious groups, as sexual orientated minorities. That's a bad sentence. You know what I'm saying? Queer protection, culture of queer protection. It's a hate crime to stand to hate on to commit. I'm muddling my words terribly here. To commit violence or to discriminate against an individual of a minority group. And that's all I want for cannabis consumers, is us to have those same base protections and rights at home so we can build our own shit. And then when we do something wrong, you treat us with the discretion like a driving ticket. You don't kick our fucking doors off at 5 a.m. You don't shoot our pet dogs because you're intimidated in your fucking armor. You don't scare our children. You don't arrest our wives. Do you know what I mean? You don't fuck with our lives like that. You send a little letter going, oh, we've seen you've grown too many plants. Could you deal with the plants? And maybe you get at worst a fine because your plant is hanging over the sidewalk. That sort of shit. That you deal with it like that, if at all, and you'll be lucky if we even take you seriously for that. But to come at us and try and go, you're allowed it, but by gun, you've got to fucking do it right. All you're going to do is put my back up. Do you know what I mean? All you're going to do is make me your adversary when you're dividing arbitrarily my community and my culture so that unless we're paying you, we're going to suffer. That's racketeering. That is exploitation. That's gangster activity. Yeah, exactly. That's not right. We shouldn't pay you for this right. You're supposed to be there to serve us in government. So frankly, serve us. Corporations are supposed to be free to rise on whether people want to buy their products and services. Give it a free market. We'll decide what we want. We already know the people that are winning these competitions and shit. They're the ones we want at the forefront. The talented, the skillful, the passionate. We want them to scale up and be available all over the world. Yeah, we'll understand there'll be a premium rate in the same as Dom Perignon, our Monet champagnes. You're paying a premium for the brand. You can still get cheap. Right? Exactly. And so that will naturally rise if the artificial scarcity and restrictions aren't applied by these corporations. But they only become billion-dollar corporations because of those restrictions. They know they can't compete with us like for like.
It'd be great if, you go fine. You want to do that. But let us still have our freedom to do have the crafts and have, like my competition does, and have our craft stuff. And all these high-end growers. And let the people that want to buy from them be able to buy from them. The people that want to buy from the pharmaceutical drug people or that stuff, let them be able to do it. That's their choice. Just let us keep our freedom. But as you said, unfortunately, the greed in the pharmaceutical companies and all these big corporations, or all these people buying into this cannabis now just because of the money, not for the people. They don't want that. They're going to keep on pushing out. Where pretty soon it is going to be like that. You only have one choice: where to get this from. Where to buy your cannabis from? What strains? And it's all done. And it's going to take and change this plant completely around. The feeling, the everything about this plant, that what it stands for, will be gone if it keeps on going. If it keeps on going the way it is. I mean, I think. But these scales today, as right now, I'm still allowed to travel the world and pretty much do my competition all over, which I love, and that's great. So I'm happy for that, at least today. Thank God for that.
Yeah, long may it continue, brother. And I've not meant this. I do sometimes get accused of being a bit negative or doomsy, but I think it's we're at a crossroads. We're on a precipice, but I think that there is doom one way, but there's utopia the other. And it's not utopia by the kosh, or by the fucking bayonet. It's a literal, you want to do this? All right, are you infringing on the rights of others? No. Oh, cool then. Fucking do it. Do you know what I mean? It's there is a different reality at the other side of this decision. Humanity either goes to the soma drug, as we discussed sort of last week from the Aldous Huxley Brave New World, of cannabis becoming the great pacifier of the world, and everybody consumes it, but no one's enlightened. They're created. We're all high, but like you say, none of us are. Ooh, let's overthrow the government. I'm not saying that we'll do that per se, but it's quite an anti-establishment culture as cannabis, and they're trying to make the cannabis culture pro-establishment, and it's like, dudes, oil and water don't mix. I know, obviously, there's people you can use techniques and whatever else, but that's still artificial. We don't want it to fucking mix. We want you to have yours, and we want us to be authentic. And then in 10, 15, 20 years, if naturally the Uncle Stoner fucking lounges, there's 500 of them across the world, or there's a squash off in every country, or whatever it may be, you know what I mean? It's like, that's a natural evolution, and that's where it should come. Some billionaire shouldn't go, I want 5,000 lounges, and just go, boom, there's the McDonald's. Like, no, fuck you. That shouldn't happen. You should have to compete fairly with everybody else on the playing field.
Legacy people should always have first choice. I think they should have it. We're legacy people that have been in it, been passionate about this thing, been involved in this plant for ages. They should have first option on things like that.
It should almost be a draft. It should be like, I'm thinking of the Chappelle race draft where Wu-Tang get drafted to be Chinese. And it should be like that, where it's all the big investors and companies and they're billionaires, kind of like a Shark Tank thing. And then the growers or the legacy people come in, and what can happen is none of the big investment can open a company without us being a majority shareholder. So in order for them to make their money, they have to put us at the forefront and follow our instruction. And do you know what I mean? So then it's honoring that culture, and they get rich, which is all they want. But then they're not crashing the car off a fucking cliff.
There you go. Let us keep control of it. We'll still let you make your money, but let us control how it should. Yeah.